Hello, I'm Scott Soshnick.
And I'm Eben.
You're
Novy-Williams,
smiling already.
and
No, this is rehearsed. This is rehearsed. This is terribly rehearsed.
Well,
You're
I thought about it
smiling
a second
already.
ago.
No.
I've been trying to figure out how to do a Caitlin Clark intro,
All right.
and I have one.
All right. Well,
Do we
should I do it again? No,
Yeah,
not going to
we
restart, but I'll do it again
Okay,
just to
okay,
give you
okay.
what you need as an intro.
Fair enough.
All right. And I'm Scott Soshnick.
And I'm Eben Novy-Williams, and this is the Welcome to the League Rookie Sports Business Podcast, the Sporticast.
That's it?
That's what I got, my friend.
You were smiling. Like, I thought you had something really good. Once again, I'm going back to NWSL.
I was smiling because I like this setup. We're sitting in
So
love
comfy.
seats. We got a
So
table in
comfy.
front of us. Matt and Cora, shout out, both sitting here with us. We're getting this studio thing it's starting to work, Scott.
It is starting. We're coloration. We're working on the colors. We're going to have background, little by little, step by step, which is sort of the process for
Good
a
transition.
WNBA
Very
rookie,
good.
right?
Yeah.
All right. First question.
Yep.
Did you watch?
I did watch part of it. I
Okay.
did not watch all of it.
I did not watch a second.
She got a double-double.
I was following on Twitter.
Not the
I saw she was
double-double
struggling.
you want.
Yeah.
20 points, fine. 10 turnovers, not so good. I watched because it felt
Zeitgeist.
felt historic. Yeah, it felt like, who knows, but Caitlin Clark, she could have a 1-year career, she could have a 25-year career, I don't know, but there's something happening right now around her in the past few months at Iowa and now in the W, and yeah, this felt like a something to watch. I don't know how much other WNBA I'm going to watch after this, to be totally honest, but yeah, I'm fast. We're recording this before the numbers come out, but I want to know what the numbers are. I'm obviously not alone of people who have probably tuned into maybe their first ever WNBA game to see Caitlin Clark play. But yeah, it felt like a moment in sports business, and I wanted to tune in for it.
No, I can't. You know me, like the weird stuff. I almost said it. Goes on here. Like there's something happening here. Something ain't exactly clear. There's a woman with a ball over there.
Oh no!
Telling
opponents that
telling
got
them
to beware.
Yeah, it's time to stop, shoot that, but whatever. I don't know. We could do something with it if we wanted to.
So some really interesting, I think, business stories out of the W in the past few weeks. We didn't talk about the charter situation.
Yes,
the league deciding on the eve of this series, the season, that they're going to have charter planes, something they haven't done before, controversial.
But by the way, on the eve of a windfall in revenue. Like they are inextricably linked. People need to understand that more revenue gets you things like this.
It's one of the, I think, maybe overlooked parts of this conversation, and this has been a topic in the league for a while. Joe and Clara Sy flew the Liberty a few times, flew them charter a few years ago when they weren't supposed to. Got a huge $500,000 fine, I believe, from the league, which is a lot of money in WNBA land. The thing I think is interesting about this is that this wasn't collectively bargained. They didn't open up the CBA for it. The owners just kind of decided to do it. And culturally, that's obviously very different from NFL, right? The NFL owners would extract 2 arms and 2 legs from the players to make a concession of this magnitude.
And they will for the 37th game of the season.
And they probably end up will. In the WNBA, you're right. The owners are very confident that at least right now, revenue is going to jump up. But this is a fairly big move, an expensive move. $25 million a year it's going to cost the league to do this properly, that they just said they would do. It's fascinating to me that's how this went, and not something more formal.
Well, I think there's also that public pressure part now. If you have,
exactly, I think that's it.
Yeah, certainly. You have Caitlin Clark coming in and complaining right away that this is no way for professional athletes to be treated. I should have stayed at Iowa, right? Like, Carver Hawkeye has no air conditioning, and it's better conditions than what I'm getting here at the pro level. So that's one. You couldn't have this Angel Reese. You couldn't have this incoming group of players start off bashing the league, and the owners is not committing to, not taking this seriously, not treating us equally, all of that. That just couldn't happen. So that was obviously something they were cognizant of. But the promise of more revenue was real. So you've got media revenue. You have sponsorship revenue. And if those are on the climb, and we know they are, there is no reason not to be reinvesting in the product and the players. The question will now be, with this newfound leverage, and all bargaining is solely about leverage, what will the players want now? Will they want a greater percentage of what in the NBA is known as BRI? I assume it's the same terminology in the labor contract for the women, basketball-related income. What more do they want at this point? Will they push on things that owners can say, even with the windfall, we just cannot do. It is not sustainable at this time. That is, to me, the next bargaining. And I believe the union has the right to reopen. So we could be almost like a year off on this.
Yep.
But what they push for next will be an extremely fascinating negotiation.
And I think a lot of that is going to depend on how long this buzz lasts, right?
Yeah.
A ton of people tuned in to watch Caitlin Clark's first game. We've already seen ticket sales for a lot of her games and other games doing really big numbers. When the dust settles on Angel Reese,
yeah, we're in
Caitlin
game
Clark,
15, and
exactly.
the Fever are 4-11.
Where are we?
Yeah.
How many of these people that came stayed? Once I think the owners and the players, quite frankly, understand what's permanent and what is just the transient excitement of a new era.
Can I use the word sticky?
Sticky. Yeah, what's sticky? Then I think we get to kind of start to nail in on the brass tacks of what this looks like. One other thing I'll say on the charters real quick, which I think is part of the calculus here, part of the public pressure. Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark flew charter in college.
Yeah.
Right. It's the way that colleges fund their athletic departments, the Title IX decisions, you need to do the same for the women's team that you're doing for the men's team, means that all these college basketball stars that join the WNBA are coming
accustomed to accoutrement,
accustomed to charter planes. It's different from, say, the NWSL, which is having its own, has been having, and will have this charter debate, I think, in some increasingly louder form over the next few months. But the women's soccer teams, by and large, the women that are coming into the NWSL are not flying charter.
They don't know this experience,
yeah,
right?
So I think in some ways part of it is just the difference between the way women's basketball teams and women's college teams are treated from a travel standpoint affects the way that players talk about having those amenities when it comes to being a pro as well.
By the way, on 1 to 10 scale of impressed, how impressed by me knowing Carver Hawkeye doesn't have AC?
Very good.
You like that, right?
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
And by the way, I actually got that from Caitlin.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, she was talking about why they gave her teammates gave her an honorary degree because she couldn't go to graduation.
Oh, I saw that.
And in her response, she said, well, I'm happy I'm not there in a way because there's no AC at Carver Hawkeye. So I'm actually rather be here. And secondly, for the entire morning, I have been scratching my head. Remember I said I had a really good idea for one of your explainer videos?
Okay.
And I couldn't, old man me, I just couldn't come up with it. It was how charter travel works.
Oh, okay.
Which is a great idea because people do not understand what goes into that.
They don't. And I've done a little bit of work on this in the past few weeks, and I won't give all of it away right now. But from what I understand, the way that most charter works, there's a few teams that own their own planes.
Yep.
The Patriots are one of them.
The Mavericks had round ball one. Yeah.
I think the Arizona Cardinals maybe are another one. There's probably
Patriots,
5 teams, pro teams that have their own planes. The rest of the teams that fly charter are doing it through lessors.
Through a lessor program.
The planes that they're flying are planes that have been in circulation and taken out of circulation by big companies like Delta or United or American Airlines. So they're older. Yep. They're not brand new. They get a little bit of retrofitting for athletes, but you're not tearing out all the seats and putting in new seats.
But the new ones,
the new ones, and this is the next wave, I think.
Yeah, they're really focusing on health and wellness and rest and recovery.
Will have all those things.
Yeah,
but large part, NFL players that are flying on these huge planes, the regular coach rows are still there, from what I understand, for some planes.
Yep.
So you have huge guys sitting; they get a row to themselves, but they're still sitting in the row that you and I might sit in. Bathrooms don't get retrofit. Those bathrooms are tight for humans of our size, Scott. It's real tight if you're a 300-pound lineman. Structure like coaches want to sit around a table maybe and look at film or talk. Not a lot of tables built into it. There is, for the most part, from what I understand at least, the way that athletes fly charter-wise, it's not that different than the plane you and I fly on if we're just taking a commercial flight. There's just fewer people and maybe slightly better amenities.
Right.
But this is a frontier, I think, that you and I probably agree is going to change in the future. Everything about athletes is being optimized. How they sleep, what they eat, what their elevation is.
I'm hearing they're drilling down to things like olfactory considerations.
Totally.
What helps in health and wellness and rest and recovery. Yeah,
we are. And in some ways, the plane flight situation is still a little archaic.
Well, all the players will learn later today. Again, we're not there yet. Exactly how far and where they'll be flying.
NFL players.
Pretty good on the. That's
Very
a good
good.
NFL
Good
schedule
transition. Good
segue right there.
transition,
Yeah. We know some of the international games already. Anything hit your radar screen that you're like, all right, I'm already interested in this? For me, and we wrote about it, it's sort of how this has become a thing.
Yeah.
Teams promoted, how they go about promoting it, the creative part of it, how much some teams spend a lot of money promoting the schedule release. We think the Tennessee Titans obviously hit the home run when they had just shown the logos for the teams to passersby, and we got some pretty funny responses as to which teams were what. But once again, the NFL has turned, like it did with draft and everything else, even the schedule release is a home run for NFL teams and the league.
So we're recording this on Wednesday afternoon. Wednesday night, 8 p.m., every team comes out with its schedule. Two major things happen in the league. It is, Eric Jackson, our colleague, wrote something about this. It is the Super Bowl for your social media team and your ticket sales team. The minute the schedule is out, your single game tickets can go on sale. That's when people can decide, that's a Sunday? Okay, great. I want to go to that game.
Sunday at 1, Sunday at 4, I can do it.
If you do it properly, it's your biggest ticket sales day of the year if you're an NFL team. And then on social, again, if you do it properly, this can be, I looked at this week for Eric's story. There are 3 NFL teams for whom the most shared tweet they've ever had was their schedule release video.
Really?
3 teams.
Do tell.
It's the Titans last year.
Yeah, they were great.
Who broke the internet with theirs. The Chargers from 2 years ago, the start of their anime series. And then the Falcons from like 2020 or 2019, a video of theirs, the most shared tweet they've ever had. If you do this properly, this is a huge moment of social and influence. And last year, as you said, the Titans did a great job with a very low budget, get down to the main street in Nashville, ask fans who aren't NFL fans to try to guess what the teams are by the logo. And then on the other end of the spectrum, the Jaguars, and shout out to my buddy Asher, who did it with them, did a full mockumentary. The award is a 9-minute video. It won a Webby Award a few weeks ago. There's a few other big awards that he's waiting to hear on, which shows the other end. So my guess is Wednesday night, we're going to see a mix of these two things. We're going to see people that are doing highly produced, very dramatic, big, maybe with some famous actors or some famous athletes, some big things.
Like feature film-esque.
And then we're going to see what the Titans did last year, which is a very clever TikTok style post.
Now, if I'm an owner though, and I just sunk, give me ballpark price tag is what, 10 million, 20 million?
Some of these are going to be millions.
Okay, so I sink 10 million into my schedule release mini epic film. And then I see the Tennessee Titans have like the intern go on the street and ask a couple of questions and absolutely, like you said, break the internet. I'm upset with my creative team, or I'm like, well, we just did it differently.
So this is a great creative question, right? That if you're going to spend a lot of money and do the highly produced thing, you don't have to be quite as creative, right? It's going to look cool. It's going to look professional. You can.
I'm not sure. I still think you need to be quite as creative. You need to do both.
The TikTok one, like if that fails, you got nothing, right? And I encourage people, if you're curious about all these, go back and look at the Arizona Cardinals from last year. They were the only team that essentially didn't really do this. They had a 20-second video of Kyler Murray throwing a football, and then he throws the football at the camera.
Why didn't that work?
The schedule pops up, and the team just got dragged on social media. They were like, we're the only team that doesn't even try. Like, we didn't get a celebrity, we didn't get an athlete, we didn't get something funny or creative. My guess, and again, we're recording this before, I think you're going to see a lot of AI things. We asked AI to predict our schedule. This is what it gave us, and oh no, this is what it is. Or you could take the Titans idea and say, we showed AI each of these logos and asked them to guess like what this team name would be. I think there's some fun things that people are going to do with AI, but it's a fun little zeitgeist moment for the NFL for teams to kind of spread their wings and have some fun.
Well, I am not above ripping off good ideas. Matt Palacio's in the room. Matt, are we going? We're going to do our thing that we discussed, so we can. All right. So what we're going to rip off the Titans. What we're going to try and do and stay in our lane in the business of it all. We're going to go to the streets of Manhattan, maybe in a tourist section like Times Square, not far, like a block away. And show people pictures of owners of NFL teams.
Okay.
And ask them. You see, your thumbs down on this. You are doubting.
I don't love.
I know you're down. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. This is the fun part of like starting something. Like we can. Do, I get to do whatever the hell I want to do.
Worth trying, to be very
yeah,
clear.
we're gonna try it. But I think we're gonna get some really fun answers. Like, who is this? And what head scratching is that? An actor? Is that Liam Neeson?
King of England.
Who was the guy who did the King of Siam? You know, the bald guy, right? Like, I think we're gonna get some of that, which I think will be really funny answers because we obviously know all the owners.
Yeah.
We think of them as sort of these like big time, everybody knows figures. You just think everybody knows them. And even sports fans, I think, probably don't know most of the owners. There are some owners that have a pretty low profile.
Yeah, you certainly think Jerry Jones is someone that
yeah,
a lot
people
of
will
NFL
know
fans are
Jerry.
gonna know.
Yeah.
There are even I think a lot of NFL fans probably know the name Stan Kroenke.
Yeah,
If
but
Stan
have
Kroenke
no
walked
idea what
past
he
them
looks
on
like.
the street,
Yeah.
I think most of them would have no idea.
I
who he
think
is.
they'd know because he'd be on a horse dressed as a Bronco. So I yeah,
Just as a ram, maybe?
Well, the horse is a little Bronco. I think they'd notice Stan. I don't know. I just think we want to try it. We want to see what kind of responses we get. I think we're going to do good engagement on this. I think people are going to just play along with it.
Well, folks, you heard it here on the Sporticast.
Evans,
that it's happening.
Yes, I took his feelings into consideration and then ignored.
Some other big NFL news, Scott, today.
What do we got?
Christmas Day games.
Oh,
we have
Netflix. Yeah,
Netflix coming in. We'll have 2 exclusive global Christmas Day games.
Okay, but what's the real story here? It's not that Netflix has the Christmas, that was to territory of the NBA. Those are subplots. Those are subplots. There's one story with this whole thing.
In my mind, it's the expansion of the NFL's media tentacles into an NBA day.
Oh, really? No, I think you're way off. I think that's a total subplot.
Oh, okay. So what's the biggest one?
That the over-the-air network should be scared out of their minds that companies with balance sheets like this are getting involved in broadcasting NFL games.
Yeah,
if I'm
they
CBS,
should have been scared for years.
Yeah, but
right?
Now we're here. Now Netflix is taking exclusive games on Christmas. What Apple has done, we know, MLS.
Of course, yeah.
Google. Oh boy, if these companies with these balance sheets, Amazon, really want to jump in, and we know Amazon's got Thursday night.
Yeah.
Man, if I'm a network, I got to be scared as can be.
I mean, I think the die.
How much debt is on Warner Brothers Discovery already?
I mean, right? Like, the nobody was offering MLS what Apple did money wise, right? We don't know the finances yet of this Netflix deal. Yeah, these companies have way more money than CBS or Fox or Paramount, anyone. They have the ability to spend up, and if they're willing to do it, which Netflix hasn't really been up until this year, WWE and now NFL stuff.
Well, we thought it was going to buy this stuff, right? Remember when they tried to buy World Surf? Why rent the programming when you can buy it? You own the IP instead.
There's a few strategies there, right? You could buy it. The next best thing is what Apple has, which is we got everything with the MLS.
Yes.
We got the international, we got the local, we got the domestic, we got all.
And we got Messi selling. And we got Messi selling for us.
Exactly. So if you don't own the thing, you can get all of the media rights in one package, and maybe that's Apple's. Apple hasn't done much else than that. Maybe that's Apple's strategy, right? Is that if we can't have the whole thing, we don't want it. NFL is, everyone looks at the NFL to see what are they doing with their media? What can we replicate? The drumbeat from sports fans about things are too stratified now. There's too many different places. NFL games now, there's exclusive games on NBC, CBS, ESPN, ABC, Fox, Netflix, Amazon, Peacock. I may be forgetting another one. If it is true that you can slice and dice your stuff too much, the NFL is getting very close to that line. I'm not convinced that you can.
I am convinced you can. I'm not sure that rule applies to the NFL.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. I'm not sure
any
of this applies. Exactly. I'm not sure that any of this applies to the NFL. People will go and do whatever. I can skip. Me. I'm always like, guys, skip the game. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
It's just one. There'll be another. It used to be Sunday and Monday. That's it. That's when I grew up. Sunday, Monday. Now I've got plenty of other days of the week. I don't need to see every NFL. Sorry, Brian Rolap. Sorry, Roger Goodell. I don't need to see every NFL game.
I had some fun on Twitter today about the other side of what you're talking about the deep-pocketed companies. If let's just pick one. If NBC got exclusive Christmas Day games for the NFL for 2 this year and then 1 in 25 and 26, the stock would pop.
Yes,
it would be a dramatic news for Comcast and NBC. Netflix stock down today. that just shows to me again how minor the sports ambitions.
It's not a principal part of the business.
Netflix just got exclusive global NFL games on Christmas, and it did nothing for the stock. In fact, maybe who knows if it's the reason why, but the stock is down. I think that says so much about, again, not just this moment now, but also the potential dangers 10 years from now, when all you're negotiating with is Netflix and Apple and Amazon.
And they don't need you.
Right.
Right.
They don't need you at all. It's immaterial to their business.
All right. So speaking of not needing, we had this debate in the newsroom.
Yep.
All right. So David Zaslav is he's courtside at Madison Square Garden last night. The upfronts word today.
Yeah.
Barkley and Shaq are taking part in the TNT upfront. Inside the NBA is a huge part of what they do. You and I were debating if Warner Brothers Discovery, aka TNT, the network, if they lose the NBA rights and they go to NBC. And again, we already know that Barkley can become a free agent. Ernie Johnson will not. But let's just say that they all decide to stay together, or they give Ernie a release, whatever it may be. Let's just say Kenny, Shaq, Ernie, they all decide to stay together. The debate was, can that show exist on TNT absent the rights, absent having the lead-in of the game being played? I say yes, you say no.
Yeah,
I'll give you a chance to explain your position.
I think it's such a great question, and it's essentially what all these NFL teams that have local TV partners. So the Jets on SNY, for example, they have pregame and postgame there, right? And they're asking fans to watch the pregame here on our cable channel, watch the game on broadcast, come back here for halftime.
You see that with MSG now and the Rangers in the playoffs, or the Knicks. Yes.
None of those things have really taken off. You're right that inside the NBA is a totally different animal of popularity. It has essentially changed the market, in my opinion, for what studio shows are and what they should look like. The big question to me is, let's just say Warner Brothers loses the NBA, wants to keep the show. What actual rights do they get? Are they able to show real-time highlights? Are they able to get a player on the court right before he goes into the locker room at halftime? Are they able to get a coach in the same setting? If they can keep all of the rights they have around the NBA, but just not the live broadcast, maybe, I think. My concern is that if I'm NBC and I'm paying $2.5 billion to the NBA to get the package that Warner Brothers had, I'm structuring that in a way that no other network can have the ability to do this.
But other networks, we see other, they don't get the first interview with the player, but other networks are like, go to games and then have the players, right? Like they'll do the rights holder first, and you've seen, it's a car wash. There's a litany of people. Then after they do the NBC interview, let's just say it's that. All right, let's do our Turner interview.
Yeah, I'm speaking a little out of turn because I don't actually know. I would think that some of that is like the local TV has some presence, and in these deals, it's fine for the car wash to include the local. But is there another national? To my knowledge, like and I don't think anyone's really tried this. Maybe they have, but for things that ESPN doesn't have rights to, let's say for the evening sports center that's going at that time,
they get interviews. Sure, they get athlete interviews. Of
on,
course,
on the court.
Of course.
Okay, so maybe this is possible. To me, if I was NBC, if I'm doing this deal and paying the billions of dollars, I am trying to make sure
you can't Heisman stiff arm everybody else out of like covering the event.
That's kind of the whole point of media deals, is it not?
Well, exclusivity is of the game itself.
Entities
it's the game itself, but not all the. Remember, this is a guy, Adam Silver, who recognized like, no, we're not going to go after people utilizing our marks and our, on. It's good for us to have other people. That's the at least the approach the NBA is.
The other side of this coin is that if I'm NBC and I get this deal done, is Charles literally my first call? I think Charles might be my first call. I am trying to replicate this if possible. I know Ernie is maybe tied down.
You can't. This is something I've learned about chemistry, and part of it is this show. Like how many people say, "Oh, you guys, I listen to you. I feel like I'm hanging out with friends." And that was born out of 15 years of you and I sitting next to each other and having these conversations. You throw Charles Barkley, even the most seasoned interviewer, host, whoever it is. It ain't that crew. It is just not that crew. They have something special. I always wonder when they brought Shaq in, is this going to work? And just today I was watching, the famous, if you gas up your car, and I laugh every time.
It's an all-timer.
That does not work with other people. It just doesn't work. So I would try to keep it together and see what Charles will probably want to go where they have the games, but I get it. You remember when ESPN lost the NHL, or at least I do, and folks like Steve Levy, and then they're crushed. This is their property,
but same thing.
And then you get it back. You're like, oh my God, we're back in it. But it's not like they didn't go and do interviews, but it's not the same if you didn't have the property. I get it.
This question also makes me think back earlier this week. We had Paul Rabel on the show one of the things he was talking about was how important the lead-in is to your product, right? There's no better lead-in for an NBA halftime show than the NBA game itself. Obviously, that seems
the
so
tile
clear.
will be a big picture of the basketball player.
It would be a fascinating experiment to see if the rights did work out in some capacity. How sticky, to use your word, how easy is it to get a fan watching a game on NBC as soon as the game is over to go to TNT to watch the halftime show? Because it's not a format that happens. Maybe it happens digitally on Twitter. And so I've seen reporters do fun AMAs at halftime of the Monday Night Football game, for example. It would be really interesting to see if there's enough there. If those guys, Ernie and Kenny and Shaq and Chuck, if they have enough draw to get people changing the channel that consistently.
I would absolutely 100%. And I am a casual fan. I am not a diehard. I think diehards probably have stronger opinion than I do. I'm a casual fan. I find them almost more entertaining than the game itself. I
don't disagree with that.
I don't care what a lot of other analysts think, frankly. I want to go to that show. I want to see them roasting somebody who didn't play well. I want to see them with the gone fishing.
Yep.
I mean, they have that franchise, carved out. So I'd like to see a little bit more of it. Let's close out with our live event. I was in LA last week. You were too lazy to go with me. But Invest LA, we've done it many years now in New York, but we thought it was so good that we should probably give it a shot in LA. And by all accounts, home run. Like we had, particularly LA flavor. I interviewed Todd Bowley. We had Julie Ehrman of Angel City, but I'll tell you and we're talking about partnerships. The panel, or at least the discussion, that I really, really found to be enlightening was Kevin Demoff of Kroenke Sports, and of course that includes the LA Rams, and Anthony Noto, the CEO of SoFi, which is of course the naming rights partner for the stadium that they play in and the Chargers as well. And to hear those two discuss how they go about decision making during even construction of the facility and the change to the big screen up top, not just SoFi brand, and how they work together. I think others who enter into these agreements would be wise to not only watch that, but seek them out and say, can I hear a little bit more about process? Because you guys really haven't integrated what's good for me is good for you. How do we work together?
Amy Trask, the former president of the Raiders.
Yeah, Amy moderated that panel. Right, it was wonderful.
She asked at one point, what does SoFi Stadium not have, event-wise, that you really want? And Kevin's immediate answer, he said, we built the stadium specifically with the Academy Awards and the Grammys in mind, which is amazing. I would love to see that happen. And then he rattled off a number of other things, UFC, WWE. It is very clear that, and I guess you have to think this way when you're in LA, but the sports teams don't exist in a vacuum anywhere really. But in LA, there's
a lot for the entertainment. And by the way, there's also just beach. Just going outside, hiking in mountains and beach.
The other thing I thought that was great that Kevin said was that in LA, winning is, I think the word he used was, it's a cover
charge.
Yeah, winning is just the cover charge. It's not enough.
For relevance.
Yeah, for relevance. You need to not just winning, because the Galaxy have won and the LAFC have won and the Rams have won and the Clippers have and the Lakers have won and the Dodgers have won. You need not just titles, but you need to have a marketing plan, and you need to speak to fans and give them the things that they want. I thought that was really interesting just to kind of hear the way that Kevin, who is at this point, given his new role, one of the higher ranking sports executives in
Arsenal,
the country,
Avalanche. Yeah, absolutely.
To hear the way he thinks about that. Another one that jumped out to me, I thought Julie Ehrman, who's a co-founder of Angel City, she told a great story about a conversation she had with Mia Hamm when they were just launching, and Mia Hamm eventually did come in as an investor, I believe. Mm-hmm. But Mia told Julie, like, we've tried professional soccer in LA, the women's soccer. The reason it doesn't work is that on weekends, young girls are playing soccer. Mothers are out on the soccer field watching their young daughters play, and that's your audience. So if that's your audience, this thing's not going to work. And Julie's response was, I appreciate you telling me that,
but that's not our audience.
Not our audience.
Yeah,
that's not our
good.
plan.
Yeah.
Like, we are going to be way more than just the thing that mothers take their daughters to. We're going to be a staple in the LA community. This is something for men, women, LGBT, whatever it is, way more than just that specific demographic. So really interesting to hear how, and Angel City's been a tremendous success commercially in just a few short years in the NWSL. Really interesting to hear how they were thinking about that plan and what Mia had told Julie.
Neither you and I have started a countdown clock here. So like
Yeah,
Cora
no
left the
idea.
room again. Palacio's not even paying attention. I can tell though, with my hand is starting to shake and get heavy from the microphone in this position. So we've gone way longer than we normally do. And I have a 2:30 call, and am I missing that yet? Are we close to 2:30? Oh, I've got an extra. All right, we can go another half hour. But look, Cora's giving the cut. She's like, no, give me the cutoff. I think she's right. All right, close it out, Novy. Yeah, she knows. She's like, I got other stuff to do. I can't be sitting here. Close it out.
He is Scott Soshnick. You can find him on Twitter at Soshnick. I am Eben Novy-Williams. You can find me on Twitter at Novy_Williams.
I'm going to push the chair back.
The show is produced by Aaron Greenewald. Thank you very much to Aaron. Thank you also to Cora and Matt, both sitting here for setting up this great studio for us. Cora would like you to know that you can follow the show at Sporticast, which is the hub of the Sportico Media Network.